Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. At UFC 285, Bo Nickal made his highly anticipated UFC debut versus Jamie Pickett and defeated him via first-round arm triangle. But this is clouded in controversy because Jamie Pickett's manager is appealing this loss to the commission because of a supposed illegal shot landed by Bo Nickal, which led to the finish. And we're going to take a look at this supposed illegal shot in super slow motion and determine whether or not it actually landed. We're talking about a groin shot up against the fence. But I will say, this is being highly overlooked. It's not really being talked about by anyone. And I think this is a massive deal if it actually happened, which we're going to take a look at the replay in super slow motion. And then we're also going to take a look at Bo Nickal was asked about this in the UFC 285 post-fight presser, and we're going to hear his reaction. I have a clip of his reaction to it being suggested that he landed a low blow that led to the takedown of Jamie Pickett in the inevitable finish. And we're also going to talk about the UFC conspiracy that the UFC was blatantly covering this up. There was no mention of it on the broadcast because Bo Nickal has a lot of hype behind him. For those of you who don't know, Bo Nickal's coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. Coming into this fight, he only had 3 pro MMA fights. And those 3 fights were against grocery store cashiers. And he gets his first bit of a step up in competition against Jamie Pickett, not a massive step up. And he gets put on the pay-per-view main card of UFC 285, which is one of the biggest pay-per-views of the last few years. That's how much the UFC is putting behind Bo Nickal. And there could be some legitimacy to the claims that the UFC blatantly ignored this because they didn't want to set the narrative that, oh, Bo Nickal cheated to win. But we're going to take a look at everything. I'm going to give my opinion on everything. And I'm also going to answer the question, do I think anything comes out of the appeal by Jamie Pickett and his manager? Do I think they get this win overturned? Because a lot of people have asked that question. Could this be possibly overturned by the commission? And I'm also going to give my opinion on what could be next for Bo Nickal. You know, could it be a rematch with Jamie Pickett? I don't know. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But first off, I want to start off with the slow-mo replay of what happened in the fight at UFC 285. So if you take a look at this, you have Bo Nickal. He has Jamie Pickett up against the fence. He's looking for a takedown. Jamie Pickett has a wide base. And here in a second, we are going to see the knee in question. And Bo Nickal launches this knee to the thigh, to the upper thigh, and you'll see it land on the upper thigh in super slow-mo, and then what does it do? It slides over and hits him right in the groin, and immediately afterwards, you see Pickett's legs come together, and you see a grimace on his face. Now, let's take a second look at it in slow-mo again. You see the knee come up from Bo Nickal, it lands on the upper thigh, and then slides over, hits Jamie Pickett in the groin. The legs come close together, there's a grimace on his face, and then what happens? Bo Nickal gets the hand behind the knee and then gets the takedown, gets the front headlock position, and then what this leads to is eventually he gets the back of Jamie Pickett, flattens him out, gets the full mount, and eventually gets the finish via arm triangle in the first round. So after looking at that super slow-mo replay of Bo Nickal throwing the knee, I think it is undeniable that Bo Nickal landed a groin shot. I'm not saying he intentionally threw a groin shot, but it landed on the inner thigh, the upper inner thigh. And even if it didn't, you didn't see it slide to the groin, sometimes the knee may land there, but then, the thigh may graze the cup, and the cup, then, causes the low blow. And I think it's clear as day in this replay that you have a low blow here. And the referee should have caught this. He should have seen the grimace on Jamie Pickett's face. And we have an atmosphere within the UFC where people are constantly saying fake low blow, fake low blow, fake low blow. The UFC commentary team does it all the time. And sometimes you have these replays where it's really hard to see. I think in this replay, it's pretty clear that it lands. And I think it's pretty clear that it lands because Jamie Pickett immediately brings his legs together. That's not a good defensive position to defend the takedown. And he immediately grimaces on his face. I don't think Jamie Pickett, who's been in the UFC for a few fights, I don't think he was sitting there thinking, all right, look, if Bo Nickal throws a knee to my thigh, I'm going to fake a low blow, even though I've already defended, a takedown from Bo Nickal, and I'm defending it well now. I'm digging the underhook. I got a wide base here. I'm defending well. I'm going to fake a low blow so I can get Keith Peterson to separate us. I don't think Jamie Pickett is making that type of decision mid-fight. I do not believe that. There's no doubt in my mind that this was a low blow. Well, then you have the commentary team, which I talked about. They're always saying fake low blow, fake low blow. They didn't even examine this. They didn't even mention it. Now, Joe Rogan, Daniel Cormier, John Anik, mainly Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier, they have a bad habit of not seeing what's actually going on in the fight. I mean, they were acting like Israel Adesanya was defeating Jan Blachowicz just with feints alone. So they have a good history of they're talking amongst themselves and not talking about what's actually going on in the fight. So maybe they missed it. But when you watch those replays and they showed the takedown replay, you clearly see the grimace on the face. You clearly see the legs come together. It's an immediate reaction. And they just glossed over it. They never mentioned it. And I believe this was active on the UFC's part. I think there could have been someone in their ear after the finish. Maybe they missed it live. After the finish saying, look, don't mention it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to discredit this win of Bo Nickal. Because essentially the way the UFC is going to act after this fight was Bo Nickal comes in and beats a UFC fighter. Now, he might have been fighting lower competition on Dana White's Contender Series, but now he came in and he defeated Jamie Pickett first round submission. And they don't want to cloud that win and maybe stop a little bit of the hype by even mentioning the low blow. And this is something that a lot of people seem to miss about the UFC and the UFC commentary team and Dana White. They understand that they have the ability to set the narrative. A lot of the time, whatever the commentary team says, whatever Dana White says at the post-fight presser, a good percentage of MMA fans take that and run with it as if it's set in stone and there's no denying it because Dana White said it or Rogan said it, which just isn't the case. But a lot of fans run with it. So perception is reality. If Joe Rogan and DC start talking about it and then Dana White starts talking about it, that's going to get all the fans talking about it. That's why they blatantly ignored it. So I think they could have missed it live, but I think on the replays, they had to have seen it. They have a whole production team that says, oh, there was a headbutt here when the commentary team misses it. And there's a headbutt and that somebody gets cut open and the commentary team, Rogan and DC are speculating, oh, well, I think it was a punch that opened it up. Someone in their ear tells them, look, there was a headbutt. We have a replay. We'll show you the replay to keep the commentary team informed. They knew 100% that there was a low blow here. And Bo Nickal was asked about this in the post-fight presser. And I think his answer couldn't have been more terrible and couldn't have been a worse look for Bo Nickal. Unfortunately, the MMA media didn't push back at all, didn't ask any follow-up questions. But let's take a look at that clip right here.
Jamie Pickett's manager has just reached out to one of our reporters, and they said they're going to be filing a grievance over this result to turn it to a no contest because they feel he was kneed in the groin, which directly led to the takedown and the finish. What's your response to that?
That's weird, bro.
Did you feel like you hit a blow at all or no?
No, I don't. I think, honestly, I know exactly what happened. I mean, I hit him in the leg, in the thigh, and I had him in a bad position on the wall, so he wanted to get off the wall, and he wanted the ref to stop it, which if I would have actually hit him low, I would feel bad because I don't want to win that way. I'm not a cheater. I'm not somebody that tries to take shortcuts, and so if I did hit him low, I would have just relaxed probably or just let the ref stop it, but I didn't hit him low at all, so it's a weird move, bro.
So there you hear it directly from Bo Nickal. He says, I know exactly what happened. I need him in the upper thigh. And, he pretended like he got hit in the groin and he was looking for the ref to stop it. And essentially what Bo Nickal is saying here, and he pretty much came outright and said it, he is saying that Jamie Pickett faked a nut shot to get the referee to break them and take Jamie Pickett's back away from the fence. That is what Bo Nickal is saying. And he's saying, oh, that's weird, bro. Well, we have a super slow-mo replay that clearly shows an illegal blow. So in this match, I don't think it's debatable. I think the knee landed to the groin, and I think Bo Nickal's response was a premeditated response. I think he was warned before he went out and talked to the media, and that's why he's saying, oh, I know exactly what happened. I threw a knee, it landed to the thigh, and he wanted the referee to break us. And I think that is an insult to Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett has a few fights in the UFC. He's lost before. He's not going out there and actively faking nut shots just so he can get off the fence against a guy who he's already stuffed one takedown from. And also, faking the nut shot is what led to the takedown. I showed you in the replay. When the knee landed, you saw Jamie Pickett's wide base, then his feet came together, which led to the takedown by Bo Nickal, and that eventually led to the finish. There was no doubt about it. So I think Bo Nickal's response to this accusation, if you want to call it, I think it's pretty clear that it was an illegal shot. I think it's a terrible response. I think he should have said, look, I don't feel like I low blowed him, but if by some chance I did, I feel terrible about it. And that's what he should have said. He said, oh, if I would have low blowed him, I would have felt terrible. I'm not a cheater. I'm not a dirty fighter. The way he just responded to it made me think like, okay, I was thinking about this backstage and this is the response I'm going to come up with. I'm not a cheater. I'm not a dirty fighter. I wouldn't do that. Okay, nobody's saying you threw a nut shot intentionally. I don't believe Bo Nickal threw a nut shot intentionally, but I do believe he inadvertently hit Jamie Pickett in the groin, which led to the takedown and the eventual finish via arm triangle. But as far as the commission, because Jamie Pickett is going to appeal to the commission, they're going to ask for it to be turned over to a no contest. They're going to say, look, there's an illegal, move performed here, which led to the finish. We want this overturned to a no contest. Is that going to happen? Absolutely not. The commission, specifically the Nevada State Athletic Commission, never likes to admit fault. No matter what happens, they never like to admit fault. And I don't believe they will admit fault here. I don't think they're going to take credit and say, our ref missed the call. They do not like accountability over at the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So nothing will come of this. I don't believe the UFC will ever talk about this really ever again. I don't think they'll ever mention it on a broadcast. And I basically think Bo Nickal's nut shot to Jamie Pickett will be brushed under the rug. I do believe, even though Jamie Pickett doesn't have a great UFC record and now he's lost another fight, I do believe the UFC will give him another opportunity. And the only reason I say that is because they know deep down that he got hit in the nuts, but also they don't want to make Bo Nickal look terrible. So they want to give Jamie Pickett at least one more fight. They don't want to cut him immediately afterwards. So then, you can say, oh, Bo Nickal's last opponent isn't even in the UFC anymore. That's how bad he is. Essentially, that would be the narrative people would run with. So they're going to give him another fight. So at least Jamie Pickett won't get cut. But he didn't really have an opportunity in this fight because he got low blowed. He took a knee to the groin. And unfortunately, there's nothing he can do about it. And it's not going to get overturned by the commission. Now, as far as what's next for Bo Nickal, because I want to answer that question because a lot of people are asking what's next for Bo Nickal. He's calling out Khamzat Chimaev, or at least he did a while ago. He's talking about, I would beat Alex Pereira, the current middleweight champion. I would take down Israel Adesanya and beat him up too. And a lot of people are thinking, and Joe Rogan even speculated about it on the broadcast, that Bo Nickal is going to get a massive step up in competition in his next fight. I do not believe that's going to be the case. I think you will see Bo Nickal fight low-level UFC competition for at least another year. We're talking at least another 3, 4, maybe even 5 fights. And I do not believe he's going to get a big step up in competition in his next fight. If I had to guess who he ends up fighting next, I have a couple names that I think, will probably be likely for the UFC to match him up with. I think Cody Brundage is a real possibility. He's coming off a loss. He got dominated in his last fight. I think that is a possibility. I think you could also have Puna Soriano. He's coming off a loss. Another guy who has trouble with wrestling, but he's a decent striker. And I think Puna Soriano is a matchup that I could really see the UFC making next. And the other matchup I could see the UFC making for Bo Nickal next, I could see them putting him against Tresean Gore, who came off The Ultimate Fighter, had a little bit of hype behind him, but not a whole lot, and just recently got a win, hasn't looked particularly impressive in the UFC. I could see the UFC matching up Bo Nickal with any of those 3 guys. But if I had to guess, I'm going to say Puna Soriano. I'm going to say next we are going to see Bo Nickal versus Puna Soriano. But I really do believe it'll be one of those 3 names, and it'll be most likely someone coming off a loss. I know Tresean Gore has a win right now, so I don't think that's super likely, but I do think it is possible. And I think Bo Nickal is going to be continued to kind of be babied by the UFC, get a bit of the Sean O'Malley treatment, and I think at least for another year, year and a half, maybe even 2 years, I think we're going to see favorable matchups and incremental steps up in competitions for Bo Nickal. And that's really what I see happening next. And I think they'll put him on another big card, maybe International Fight Week, and put him on the pay-per-view card because Dana White looks at Bo Nickal and sees dollar signs, and he wants to build him into a massive star. So I think that's what's next for him. Unfortunately for Jamie Pickett, he's just going to have to swallow his pride. He got hit in the nuts, he got taken down, and now he has a loss on his record that, he probably would have gotten anyway. I believe Bo Nickal would have finished him anyway, but I think this delegitimizes the win just a bit because of the low blow. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I would greatly appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.